Hi everyone, I'm Tianna Spears, an apprentice developer at Code the Dream, and I'm looking forward to my conversation today with Tobenna Okunna, senior software engineer at FloatMe, as part of our Juneteenth celebration of education and technology. Hi Tobenna, thanks so much for joining me. Let's first introduce ourselves so we can share a little bit about our backgrounds and our involvement in tech and education. How did you get started in the tech field?
Yeah. I'm Tobenna. I'm a senior software engineer, and I got started just by tinkering. I was really into gaming as a teenager, and building computers was a cheaper way to game. So just like tinkering on old parts and like fixing bugs in my Windows and Linux and stuff, just eventually landed me like closer and closer to like seeing it more as a profession than a hobby. Yeah.
That's really great. And what's your location and your role?
Yeah, I'm currently in Durham, North Carolina, and I'm a senior software engineer, and that's a pretty vague term, but what I primarily do for FloatMe is I'm a senior software engineer for the front end, so I build and maintain the application. It's both an iOS and Android app, as well as I do some backend data work to manage metadata about the app, such as like if the users need to update their app or what's the last a valid app version, what regions are we blocking, things of that nature.
Nice. And how long have you been at FloatMe?
A little over 3 years now, and I'm really enjoying it.
Nice. I'm glad you're having a good experience there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to start, I have a couple of questions regarding a couple of things that we talked about, connection with the Black community,
Hmm.
education and technology, and just the intersection of it. So I'm
Hmm.
really curious, for one, just to start maybe with the futuristic scope. Uh,
Hmm.
and ask you, how do you see the role of technology evolving in the Black community within the next decade?
Yeah. I really see a move towards in the general tech space towards open source and more modular solutions, meaning like instead of having to like learn one thing and do that one thing, there's like a ton of solutions and options like available for you, and they all have a pretty low barrier of entry. And I really think what this allows for the Black community in specific is we know what local problems we have, what social problems we might want to address, in whatever ways we can address that through technology, and just what annoyances we might have as a person in our commute, in our day studying, or whatever it is. And in speaking with our community and those around us, like we can come to solutions that like you can more easily than you might expect build and maintain and actually get to the people who face these issues that you might have a solution to. So that's like really where I see that going. And I think one example for that is a Flutter. I'm a big fan of Flutter. It basically lets you build apps for iOS, Android, and really any other platform with the same code. And my main reason for saying Flutter is just the ease of learning it, um, and and the ease at which it plugs into other things that we already use, even if you're a non-technical person. Yeah.
Gotcha. How has learning Flutter been for you and what's that process been like?
Yeah, it's been really great. I learned Flutter when I graduated college in 2020, right when the pandemic hit. And at that time, there were less than 5 jobs on LinkedIn for a Flutter engineer. But looking globally at what we might call a developing nations, um, they as they increase their um, tech scope, ability, and things they build in-house. They're moving to Flutter as their primary method of building applications simply because it saves them time, and the ease at which you can learn it. It kind of removes all the barriers that were there in the past. Like, for example, if you wanted to make an iOS app in the past, you'd have to learn iOS code or a Swift code and then learn Kotlin for Android. Or you can learn a React Native, but I'm specifically saying Flutter because it was the choice by pretty much every developing nation as they build up their tech infrastructure, they're moving to Flutter, and which means like a lot of the people in the community, as in like the Flutter community online, where you might go looking for answers or have a bug you want to fix, are people from the global South, from India, from Africa, and they have those solutions for you because they themselves came across them because they were the first ones to really pioneer using Flutter for enterprise solutions.
Gotcha. And that makes so much sense with just the connection of community and how that will evolve with tech as we continue. And I know
Yeah.
you did before, but I'm just really curious about the impact of education. I know that
Hmm.
you're currently a mentor in Code the Dream classes.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit more about why you became involved in mentoring and why you think it's important?
I love to teach and mentor, and I've had some great mentors in my time, and those mentors didn't necessarily hold my hand all the way uh, through every step or like answer every question I had, but what they really did was help me see that computer science is less of a science; it's more of an art, and programming is more akin to being like a mechanic on a car or a plane than it is to be a chemist. There's no one correct way to do it. There is a preferred way, and there are many ways to get to that preferred way. And just having mentors show you how they got along with those issues, and having a variety of input from different people really did help me. So I just like to give back and contribute in that way.
No, that's really important. And thank you so much. I mean, from Code the Dream, especially from everyone that you're mentoring, because it's such a valuable resource. Just having someone who's in the field and knows what it's like learning a new language and all of these many things that come with it, and just oh, it's an incredible journey. So far for me, it's been, and yeah, just I just want to thank you so much for just for taking the time because I think that giving back is really the best way of doing it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's truly my pleasure. I don't get to work with JavaScript often in my day job. It's mostly Flutter and Python. So mentoring for the JavaScript course was nice because it was like a literal refresher for myself. Even though I know it, it's nice to just explain it to someone else and be like, oh yeah, that is how that works. Yeah,
Yeah, it really solidifies the concept, right? When you can,
yeah.
like, one of my favorite things I learned in developing was the rubber duck method.
Hmm.
Talking like you have a rubber duck in front of you and you're explaining the concept to them. And I use a
Hmm.
Rubik's Cube most of the time. I've got one right here on the desk.
Nice.
But just in explaining or standing and just like processing those thoughts and concepts, it makes it so much easier. And I found that,
Yeah,
yeah, like you said, the best way of learning is really through teaching. So thank you so much.
yeah.
And I wanted to ask a little bit more about your connection with the Black community. I know
Hmm.
you talked about a couple of your projects that you're currently working on. I'm not sure if you wanted to mention any of those now or um,
Uh, sh yeah, sure. So I have a few projects in the works. I have a cocktail app I co-founded called Crafted Pour, and that's a crafted and then a Pour. And that's built entirely in Flutter. It's available on the web, iOS, Android. But beyond that, I have a fitness app I launched entirely myself, also built in Flutter. And beyond that, I have a GitHub repository that is an open source curriculum aimed at like being a resource for teachers or students or anyone to learn computer science through a Dart and the Flutter ecosystem. So Dart is the language and Flutter is like the whole ecosystem. Um, so those are like a few of the things I'm working on right now. And uh, my main goal is just to show that you can take whatever knowledge you have currently in programming, apply it to Dart, and have an app running on your phone within like a few minutes. And that's like the real goal. Yeah.
that's incredible. That's incredible. Um, and just everything that you've been doing, the side projects, your day job, your personal life.
Mhm.
I'm just curious how you think education and or technology can help preserve and revitalize Black cultural heritage and history.
Yeah. One of my things I really love to do is look through GitHub repositories, especially when I have a like an interest. For example, in relation to like the Black community and like our connection to the greater diaspora. I was born in Nigeria. I'm from the Igbo tribe, and I really wanted to like uh, get back to the origin point, to the connection of my tribe's culture, our language, our art forms. And in doing that research, I noticed a lot of it's not being preserved as well as it should be or could be. And I also noticed in doing that, a lot of the people I'm coming across as I'm trying to learn things myself are American, African Americans born in America who are reaching back and looking for the connection to their culture of origin, uh, whether it's a West African origin or South African or East African or wherever it is. Like there's so much wealth of information that we just don't have access to. Um, and in terms of its connection to technology, there's a writing system called Insibidi. That's Nsibidi. And that's a writing system that is like used in the Igbo tribe and a few others, along with like Yuli and a few other art forms. It's a ideogram. An ideogram is similar to like an emoji, but more akin to um, a Chinese calligraphy or or kanji. And the idea is it would be nice to be able to communicate through symbols and through art form in a way that is easily understood. So, kind of like how code is. If I write a for loop, you understand that for loop. And the average person might not be able to read it, but if you're so inclined to know what a for loop is, you can then read this thing I've written and make sense of it. And in that sense, I really would love to have an NCB translator, something where a Black people across the whole diaspora can write out a message, maybe a message of solidarity, a message of warning, a message of pride, a message of happiness in a symbolic language that is understood within the community. And it's not necessarily to be exclusive, but more to be that if you're in the community or care of the community, you're able to read this message. And there are things in the works, and we can go further into that if you'd like, but there are things in the works to make that a reality.
Yeah, no, I'd love to go further into that. I really enjoyed our conversation about Nsibidi a couple of days ago as well. It's my first time learning about the language, and um, I actually asked a friend who's Nigerian and he knows of it as well.
Okay,
So
awesome.
yeah, it's great to make those connections and then also be able to share it with other people. So yeah, let's get into it. I've got time.
Yeah, yeah. So Instabidi looks like if you imagine a Japanese kanji or Chinese calligraphy, it's like symbols that have a derived meaning, and based on where those symbols appear next to each other, you might be able to make out a whole sentence or a whole phrase or even like a song. Um, and there's a GitHub repository that somebody out there, because again, it is a community effort. Somebody out there had similar line of thought, and they wrote a mapping for the most common um, Chinese symbols to Insabidi symbols. So they found their nearest parallel or counterpart in the Chinese uh, um, uh, calligraphy,
Mhm.
and basically made a translator where you can type in an English word, it translates itself to Chinese, which then gets its Chinese uh, a symbol, a counterpart, which is then translated to Insabidi. So it's kind of interesting how uh, there's no native tech recognizer for Insabidi, but we're able to leverage solutions made for other communities who have similar concerns of being able to reach back in the past and bring their culture forward along with them. We can kind of like leverage that as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, one day someone takes that work that's available on GitHub and makes like a keyboard you can download on like the App Store, and then you can start sending Instabidi messages through your text messages. You know, yeah.
Yeah. No, that sounds incredible. Have you ever thought about reaching out to the GitHub repo author and maybe having a conversation with them or just kind of like, a little bit about their background because it has to be Like, I know Chinese is similar, like you said, but maybe they have some like connection to the Chinese community, or I mean, there's so many ways the story can spin it, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I did not reach out, but I definitely should. I went through like a whole spiral after I found that repo of like, hold on, what other cultures, what other communities out there are trying to like bring forward their language and their symbology? And yeah, I was able to find um, a repo that is the JavaScript language, but in Arabic. So, we don't often think about like coding is very English centric. The word if is a keyword, a for is a keyword. So if you're a non-speaking, a non-English a speaker, you're like learning foreign things at the same time. So the idea that somebody out there thought, well, I can just translate this into Arabic and make an interpreter so you can write the code in Arabic and it works just the same. And honestly, like another a brilliant idea. And yeah, there's just like so many things out there. I should definitely hit up that GitHub repo owner and see where they're at today. That's a great idea.
No, I'd be really curious. I mean, I know we're all busy and there's so many moving pieces of life, and so much,
Yeah.
but it's still very interesting to see um, what would become of that if they're still running the repo or still pretty online. But no, it's just great to have that connection and community, especially with people who are interested in and curious about the things that you are currently learning or interested in. Um,
Hmm.
no, that's really great that that exists and all these many resources. I mean, I know with Code the Dream, when I first started taking the intro class in September of 2023. At the time, they
Hmm.
were offering Spanish and Russian language mentor sessions, which I thought was really interesting. I speak Spanish, so it was nice that that was also an option if I wanted to do that. But a lot of times, like you said, we associate one language with one certain or specific subject. But
Hmm.
there's so many
Exactly.
different ways of learning and so many amazing ways to get to the same point. So I thought that's a really interesting thing that you said.
I appreciate that. Yeah, there really is. And I just did a brief search for the word Insabidi in GitHub, and there are like 50 repos of people doing different types of work around Insabidi. So I'm
Interesting.
sure there's something there.
Yeah, no, would you mind sending me maybe the do you have the original link of the
Yeah,
Insubstantial one? I
yeah.
I just be curious to look at it and see. It's so amazing what you can do with learning and curiosity, right? Like I had no
Yes.
idea what Insibidi was 4 days ago, and yeah, no, thanks so much. And is there anything else you would like to share or anything else you'd
Uh,
like to discuss during this interview?
I think in terms of like the community and like emerging tech, I think there's a boom coming for spatial computing and spatial interfaces. Similar to what happened with the dot-com boom and the app boom, where at a certain point everyone needed a website. So there was a ton of influx of needs for websites. At a certain point, everyone needs an app. So there was a ton of influx of apps. We're seeing the slow percolation of devices that allow for mixed reality, augmented reality, virtual or VR, and all of these contexts need a way to order stuff. You need to be able to order a DoorDash in a VR. I know that sounds ridiculous right now, but give it 5, 8 years, there will be a DoorDash app in VR. Um, and whenever a new space opens, it creates opportunity. And within the community, again, there are solutions that and problems that we all know we can either solve or identify ways to start approaching to solve them. And the spatial computing arena offers a new avenue for that as well.
Nice. And what is the spatial technology community? What does that entail exactly?
Yeah. For example, I've dabbled a little bit in Apple's Reality Composer. So the Reality Composer is it's a no-code tool available on iPhones, iPads, and macOS. Basically, you can compose augmented reality experiences. So, for example, I bought a painting of a family in Africa walking towards their house on like a family walk, and I scanned that photo. I made it an anchor, so the app I built can identify that image as like a valuable point of interest, and it projects onto it like a depth and a dimensionality. So there's a bird in the picture, and as you hold your phone up to it, the bird actually comes out of the painting and like flies around the painting. And the people themselves start walking towards their house. Now it's like a bit of a visual illusion. They never get to their house, but it's kind of a like it's like holding your phone up to it makes it a living painting, similar to like those newspapers in Harry Potter, if you
I was
remember
just,
those.
yeah, I was literally just
Yeah,
like, okay.
yeah, and even taking that back to like in Sabidi, imagine if there was a poster around the city about solidarity and had a QR code and you scanned it, and then it like started to bubble up all these Sabidi symbols all over the poster. Like these are like little kitschy, fun ways to interact with it, but it does allude to more opportunities for serious software development and also like a potential a solution making. The idea that like Apple Maps, Google Maps, you can hold up your phone and it'll give you like turn by turn instructions with an arrow over the camera view. That's great. But the technology is now available to us to like, for example, I live in Durham and I've had a great time learning from the locals about the history of Durham and like the Black Wall Street that was here in the past. And it would be really cool to have an augmented reality experience where I could walk through the streets today and like see it as it was when Black Wall Street was still alive here. I could, it's almost like the like and any area being gentrified or forced through some like hard change, you can still reconcile or like remember and like hold space for what was and maybe like have hope for what could be. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's incredible because there's so many different ways to learn. I know my family is on my dad's side is originally from Durham, and
Hmm.
just in talking with them about their experiences, and like my family's been in Durham since the 50s.
Okay. Yeah.
And just how downtown has changed and all of the gentrification, but also what Black Wall Street was and represented. And I mean, there's so much history in Durham with Hayti
Hmm.
Center, and then at M&F Bank, Mechanics and Farmers Bank in downtown Durham,
Hmm.
it's on Parish Street. There's an exhibit about Black Wall Street as well.
I didn't
Um,
even know that. I'm gonna look that up and go there later this week. That's amazing.
yeah, it's really incredible. My great grandfather actually used to work there, and he's in one of the
Oh,
photos. So it's
that's
just,
awesome.
what'd you say? Sorry.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. But there's so much history, and I can just imagine also for the youth, what I've been seeing lately is like these AI produced videos of historical events,
Hmm.
which is I prefer personally a historian telling me a story, but when you make it a little bit more visual, like when you can sit down with someone and talk about their experiences and how things have changed and grown and like how they've experienced the world,
Yeah.
I think if we could turn that into tech in the way that you're talking about, that would be amazing for the youth as well. Because think about how many people we could also get involved in learning our history.
Yeah, 100%. It would be really cool. Yeah, I love the idea. Durham already has this like love of Durham thing where you can walk around town and you scan a QR code and it like tells you a bit about the town. Um, so it'd be cool if it came with like a projection of that exact area with like information about like who was there, why it changed, and like all that stuff. It'd be really cool.
Yeah, no, that sounds like an incredible idea.
Yeah, I mean, again, too many things to do, and there's someone out there who would do it better than I, and they're in the community for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. But thanks so much for talking with me.